and take prayer. We're confirmed upon the Prime Minister.
It's a live feed from Jamaica House, guys. Prime Minister is now speaking.
2 of the Disaster Risk Management Act. The following order is hereby made, and I will say what the order entails. All travelers from countries where there is local transmission of COVID-19 will now be required to self-quarantine for up to 14. The Permanent Secretary will give more details on that order. Effective this Wednesday, March 18, 2020, the government will institute a new policy of requiring for 7 days hence this time, this is the 18th of March, 7 days from the 18th of March, be done from home. So we are going to be asking the permanent secretaries to examine all functions within their respective ministries, departments and agencies, and where they are considered to be non-essential, that those be carried on at home or remotely. The same is required of the private sector, and I will come back to that later on in the present to know that many members, many firms have already started. Now we are formally requiring it to be done. Hospitals are required to follow this new protocol, which is that hospital visits are non-person, the Minister of Health. Outpatient clinics in hospitals are to be scaled down, and a protocol has been established for that. The Minister of Health or his permanent secretary will further explain how this will work. And the government has approved a contract for protective gears and equipment for US 2.0 equipment into Jamaica, specifically 4 times sometime next week. The government is also instituting a new requirement for public gatherings. A new restriction, rather, is being implemented for public. They require 3 to 4 feet distance from each. Is that the constable of police is now empowered by law to take action if it is observed that they are gathering in excess of 20 persons. Now, this has particular consequences. It therefore means that funerals are subject to this. My advice would be to limit the attendance at funerals as much as possible to close family members. Now, if your family is like mine, it might be tricky, but given the circumstances, I'm appealing to you to be considerate of your family members and the general public. Limit funerals. I guess the same would apply to weddings. And it really pains my heart to have to say it, but it is what is required in this period of time. I've already addressed the issue with the churches, and so far what we have seen is that churches have taken on, many of them very proactive, and they are doing what was done in the early days of the church. And of course, we say for all religions, all people who worship, that we take into consideration the new restriction placed by the government. And we say worship at home, worship in small groups. Now, I know I'm going to be criticized because I don't drink, but bars are closed. We are restricting the opening of bars. Nightclubs and other areas of entertainment. So if we're talking about social distancing, then clearly that is one area that we should just act decisively on. Markets, another area of concern. So we have treated markets, supermarkets, corner shops and pharmacies as essential for the continuation of life. They will remain open, but for corner shops in particular, we ask that they respect the restriction, no gathering of more than 20, and if you have 20 persons, maintain the social distance. And in fact, we encourage, don't have that kind of gathering. In supermarkets, it might be easier to maintain social distance. In the markets will be subject to a special condition. Markets will be open from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we ask the market vendors and the higglers to pay close attention to the requirements of to give the yam and the banana and so forth. Put it in the bag first and then hand the bag. Practice the hand sanitization regime. Have on hand your tissue or hand wipes. We have to practice the sanitation regime in the markets. We don't want to close the markets. But if things progress to a point where it becomes necessary, then we will. But we are trying to put in place the measures, bearing in mind that it is not the intention of the government to shut down the economy. We have to keep the economy going. So we are not shutting down operations. And to be clear, we're not shutting down the operations. What we are trying to do is to institute the measures that we believe will inure to greater practice of social distancing, which is what is now being recommended. The most effective way of controlling the spread of COVID-19.